Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Mark 1 Tower, this is Albatross 1-3, requesting permission to land, over.
I don't need a computer to tell me how to land a damn airplane.
6.
Heads-up display, check.
5,
Lasers, check.
4,
Particle beam, check.
3,
Photon bolts, check.
2,
Chair control, check.
1.
Let's do it.
Broadcasting from a secret underground location somewhere in Mos Eisley, this is the Docking Bay 77 podcast. Make yourself comfortable. The show is about to start. Hello and welcome to the Docking Bay 77 podcast. I am your host, Dayton Johnson. We're continuing our look at sports movies this month. Joining me on the ice this week, we have friend and artist, John Wright. How's it going, John?
To quote another favorite hockey movie of mine, I'm putting on the foil, coach.
All right. We're off and running. Okay, cool. Off and skating, I said better, more appropriate. And joining us for the very first time, our special guest, Michael Burgett, the host of the Screen Nerds podcast. How's it going, Michael?
It's going great. Hopefully I'll stay on side for this podcast and won't draw any 2-minute penalties and get put in the penalty box. So we'll see. Hopefully we'll go with a good effort today.
Right. No power plays against us. No power plays. So, Michael, why don't you take a moment to tell people about your podcast?
Yeah, so I'm the host of the Screen Nerds podcast. And as I always like to say, it's a podcast for film lovers, by film lovers. And a lot of it is just my thoughts from seeing new films right out of the theater, giving quick screen kind of reviews, just my thoughts, impressions on them, and as well as re-seeing old films, some of my favorites, and reviewing them as part of a rescreen episode. And those usually drop about every week, whether it's a quick screen or a rescreen. And it is, like I said, it's just a place where you can celebrate films, enjoy films, and enjoy the conversation of them.
I gotta admit, I'm jealous. As often as you go to the theater, I am super jealous.
Well, AMC A-list is a great thing to have.
Yes, we have. We don't have A-list. We have one of their programs, but yeah, I don't. It's more of a question of having the time. That's really what it comes down for me. But yes, I love the movie theater. I love the whole experience. I love the smells and just the experience of sitting there. Everybody's there for a common goal to enjoy a movie. And so I really am a big fan of that. And so, in fact, I'm looking forward to seeing the Civil War in a couple weeks. So I'll be looking forward to go see that. That's going to be interesting and spooky, I'm sure. Anyway. All right. Awesome. Well, I'm glad you guys are here. We are discussing, based on the true event known as the Miracle on Ice, of the 1980 U.S. hockey team beating the Russians at the Olympics. Grab your skates, your pads, and your stick. It's time to discuss the 2004 film Miracle.
Want to hear an amazing story? Back in 1960, Coach Brooks was on the Olympic hockey team. But a week before the games, his coach cuts him and sends him home. And that team went on to win the gold medal without him.
Herb Brooks had given up his dream of Olympic glory until 20 ordinary kids.
Why'd you want to play hockey? Isn't it obvious? For the girls?
Gave him a second chance.
The Soviets win. My goal is to beat them at their own game. Beat the best team in the world.
Gold medalists in 64, 68, 72, 76.
Name?
Mark Johnson.
Buzzy Schneider.
Michael Ruzioni. You're missing some of the best players.
I'm looking for the best players, Craig. I'm looking for the right ones.
They were bitter rivals.
A lot of guys from Minnesota and Boston.
Yeah, that's gonna work.
But one coach had a plan to turn them into a team.
I got no time for quitters. You want me to play, huh? I want you to be a hockey player! I am a hockey player!
Think that'll get them going? Oh, yeah.
When you face the impossible.
Russians' main weapon is intimidation.
This guy's ever smile?
They're Russians. They get shot if they smile.
And you refuse to give up.
I didn't think it was gonna be this hard.
Yeah, you did.
We start becoming a team right now.
Miracles can happen.
when you pull on that jersey. The name on the front is more important than the one on the back. Michael Ruzioni.
Who do you play for?
I play for the United States of America.
Welcome to the Olympics, gentlemen.
Walt Disney Pictures presents.
This is something that this country is ready for.
Great moments are born from great opportunity. If we play them 10 times, they might win 9, but not this game.
Listen to him. We can beat these guys.
Discover the story
This is your time.
behind the greatest moment in sports history.
All right, let's hit some opening thoughts. Michael, since you're our special guest, why don't you go first? Thoughts on the movie, and do you remember when and where you saw it for the first time?
Yeah, the first time I saw it was Friday night opening weekend. It was in Martin, Tennessee, which I would figure a lot of people know where that is, but it's a small town in West Tennessee. It is a college town, and I was in grad school at the time. And so me and a group of friends went to the local theater there and saw Miracle. And it was a film I was super hyped to see because if you know me or know anything about me, I am a huge sports fan and a huge cinephile. And so you put those things together, it's gold. And so I was super excited to see this film. Even though I knew the story obviously for the Miracle on Ice, but just being able to see it on a big screen and the cast and everything, it was just so hyped to go see it and really enjoyed it. And even, the first impression I had from the film was that, this was going to be one of my all-time favorites and didn't disappoint. And is one that I love revisiting over and over again.
All right. Very good. All right, John, opening thoughts.
Real quick, Mike, you said Martin, Tennessee?
Yes.
What's the next biggest city close to that?
Oh, okay. So if you look at a map and you see Tennessee, it's like the northwest corner of the state. So probably like the biggest city would be closest to it would be Memphis, which would be on the southwest corner of the state. So that's probably closest. But yeah, it's out in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, my mom's from the middle of nowhere, Tennessee, a little town called Columbia.
Oh, that's where I was born.
Oh, wow.
No way.
Yeah.
Love it.
The jackass capital of the world. No, it's legit. That is legit what it is because they raised mules. But
I thought you were insulting people, but that makes a lot more sense. Okay,
no,
just making sure.
Absolutely not. Yeah, but back to the thing. The topic at hand is I know I saw this opening weekend. I can remember being a hockey fan from back in the day. I grew up in the Cincinnati area, as you and I've probably a few of your listeners that have had the displeasure of listening to me talk before have heard me say. And I can remember going back to see the Cincinnati Cyclones, who were a minor league team.
Right.
I can remember my dad taking me there when I was young. I can remember actually seeing Mark Messier, who went on to play for the New York Rangers and be a Hockey Hall of Famer, play. So I never had a huge interest in hockey as a kid, but growing up and working some of the jobs I worked third shift at a Meijer department store here in the area, and I was forced to watch hockey because ESPN would replay hockey at 3:00 in the morning when we had our lunch break. And I got into hockey then. And I can remember, I obviously, just like just about everybody our age, I can remember when this event actually happened. But I began to develop a real passion for hockey out of watching it every night in break room. And as being a soccer player growing up, it's a very similar style game and a very similar, just structure to it all. So hockey, from a deep rooted seed planted by my long lost father, hockey's always had a special place in my heart.
Right. All right. Very good. So I remember this event, as we all do, the Olympics, and I'm 60% sure, not 100, I'm 60% sure I was watching the game when it happened, because I remember the buildup that they kept winning and it was a big deal. And the first time I actually watched this film, I was actually at a district meeting for one of my jobs at Picture People, and which seems like an odd place to watch, this film. But what it came down to was the whole idea was how you can accomplish so much working together as a team. So I remember watching it and thinking, man, this was really, really good. And remembering how good Kurt Russell was. But it had been a while since I actually watched it again. My wife and I watched it a few years back, and then preparing for this, I put it back in, and I was just like, man, why haven't I watched this more? Because it is so good. And it's just the way it's put together. It hits all the right emotions throughout the entire movie. Kurt Russell is stellar, and you have a lot of young actors doing a really good job, considering most of them weren't really actors. They were, known for playing hockey instead. But it was a great revisit, and I want to thank John for suggesting it. And also our friend Eric was gonna be here, but he couldn't make it. So hopefully we'll get some input from him. And he did say that it's in his top 5 movies of all time. So that's pretty impressive. All right. If there's nothing else, we'll move on.
That's the fact, Jack! That's the fact, Jack!
It's time for That's the Fact, Jack. These are facts about the movie and our director. Released February 6, 2004, directed by Gavin O'Connor, who did the wonderful 2011 film Warrior, starring Joel Edgerton and Tom Hardy. Check out an episode from a couple years ago where we did that and compared it to The Fighter, which is another good movie. On that particular episode, we had Jeff Johnson, the host of the Film by Podcast, was here, as well as Andrew Blakely. Great comparison. Love Warrior. And so watching this, and I kind of put those two together. I'm like, that's why this feels so good to watch. Okay, good. Written by Mike Rich, who also wrote The Rookie and Finding Forrester. Eric Guggenheim, who's better known for writing TV shows Parenthood and the reboot of Hawaii Five-0. Produced through Walt Disney Pictures and Mannheim Pictures, distributed by Buena Vista Pictures. Starring Kurt Russell, Patricia Clarkson, Noah Emmerich, and a bunch of young hockey players who wanted to be actors. Budget of $28 million, box office $64.5 million. Hockey talent was actually more important than acting on this casting call. Hundreds of hockey players wanting to be actors showed up for only 20 spots. Actual members of the 1980 hockey team said that the movie was mostly accurate. They had to tone down Herb's language for a PG rating, and Herb did not spend Christmas with the team. Al Michaels, legendary sports commentator, re-recorded most of his television commentary for the movie. The only exception, they used the original audio and cleaned it up quite a bit of the last 30 seconds of the Russian game, including the, quote, "Do you believe in miracles?" because the filmmakers felt he could not recapture the enthusiasm of the day it happened. The actor/player spent 6 weeks learning how to play the sport in old equipment. Herb Brooks unfortunately died in a car accident before principal photography was finished. The film, of course, is dedicated to him. Now, these are weird. My wife actually brought these to my attention, so just bear with me. It's a little of a bummer, but we're going to talk about it anyway because it was just weird. Joseph O'Connell Cure played Mike Ramsey. He died in a car accident November 2015. He was only 31. Michael Mantenuto, who played Jack O'Callahan, joined the Army instead of pursuing the acting career. In fact, he was in the Special Forces and received numerous accommodations. He created and led a mental health and substance abuse program for his command. Unfortunately, he died April 24th, 2017, age 35, of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Kenneth Mitchell, who played Ralph Cox in the movie, he's the last one cut from the team. Best known for his roles in TV shows Jericho, Star Trek Discovery, and the MCU movie Captain Marvel. We just lost him back in February 24th, 2024 from ALS. He was only 49. I bring these up because it is super weird that 3 young actors from this particular movie have all passed away. And it just seems like you hear about these movies that are cursed, and this just feels weird. Anyway, back to happy things. The film has an 81% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 68% Metascore on IMDb, and a 7.4 from the viewers. It won the ESPY that year for the best sports movie. Other sports movies that year include Friday Night Lights, $1 Million Baby, and a favorite of mine, Dodgeball. The director, Gavin O'Connor, makes a cameo in the film. He's the guy that drapes the U.S. flag across the goalie when they're all celebrating at the end of the game. So if you pay attention, you can see the director. Now, did you guys come across any facts that you wanted to share?
Well, there was one that when you were talking about the cast, one interesting fact is Billy Snyder, who plays Buzz Snyder, is actually Buzz's son.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
And then they didn't know it until after they cast him. So that was, kind of nice. He didn't, play on his dad's name. That's awesome. So John, did you have some information about about Herb?
Yeah. Herb Brooks, former, birth name Herbert Paul Brooks, was born August 5th, 1937. Died August 11, 2003, as you had already mentioned. He was an American hockey coach and player. Most notable achievement is what we're talking about, Raul, in 1980 as the head coach of the gold medal winning U.S. Olympic team at Lake Placid. At the games, Brooks' American team upset the heavily favored Soviet team in a match that came to be known as the Miracle on Ice, as we've already said. Brooks also coached multiple National Hockey League NHL teams, including my favorite team, which we'll get to later, as well as the French team in the 1998 Winter Olympics, and did do too well. He ultimately returned to coach the U.S. Men's team to a silver medal in the 2002 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City. When Brooks died in a car accident in 2003, he was the director of player operations for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Brooks was inducted into the United States Hockey Hall of Fame in 1990 and the IIHF Hall of Fame in 1999. He was honored posthumously with the Wayne Gretzky International Award in 2004 and inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 2006.
Well done. Thank you, John. If there's nothing else, we can move on.
That was totally wicked!
It's time for That Was Totally Wicked. These are things we love about the movie. So, once again, Michael, since you are our guest, you get to go first. What's something you love about Miracle?
One of the things that I love about this film, and it's something that I touched on when I was a part of the great sports trope draft that the Cinematic Underdogs did a couple months ago, was the best love story in a sports film. And I picked Herb and Patty from Miracle because I feel like that their portrayal of a marriage in this film is one of the best portrayals in any sports film because they show what is reality in a lot of ways with how Herb and Patty interacted with each other. They would get into arguments, they would have disagreements, but they loved one another and they expressed that love throughout the film. Herb, when he messes up, would apologize. Patty would understand what Herb is going through and all the different things that went along with that. And I really appreciated that because sometimes in these type of sports films, you don't necessarily have a great portrayal of that or even a portrayal at all.
Right.
And so I really appreciated that because, really Herb needed that rock of Patty in his life to do what he did, which was, to lead this team to the gold medal at coaching them. And so that's one of the things that I loved about the film is that at the heart of it, that there is that kind of family aspect of it. And to have Patty and the kids be an honest portrayal of that and to be that solid foundation for Herb was something that I loved about the film.
Yeah. And I mean, I love Patricia Clarkson anyway. She's great in so many different things. Her role in Friends with Benefits is absolutely hilarious. Not to mention Pieces of April. She's another great portrayal in that one. She's fantastic. So yeah, when I remember she was in this, I was like, oh, yay, we love her. She's great. So no, I agree. Because honestly, that kind of plays into something I have, but I'm going to let John go first before I start to dominate the whole thing. So John, something you love about the movie.
How many times are you going to come back to me? Because there's a lot I love about this movie.
Well, let's get one out of the way right now.
All right. I'm just going to go with the elephant in the room. Okay. And that is Kurt Russell's portrayal of Herb Brooks.
Yes. 100%.
If you watch footage of Brooks and then compare that to Russell's portrayal, aside from the voice, and it's pretty doggone close to begin with, he's got all the inflections, he's got the accent, he's got the mannerisms down. it is uncanny to me just how close of a mimic he was to Herb.
Right.
And his performance. Russell's weird. He's kind of like he was kind of like Nicolas Cage before Nicolas Cage. He did some really avant, he did some strange movies, a lot of comedies and a lot of like kind of weird action movies.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something I didn't expect to ever see from him.
That's true. I'll give you that. I will give you that.
And he went for it. I mean, as I understand it, Russell's a pretty big hockey fan. I might be misremembering something, but
I know Gavin O'Connor wanted him specifically because he knew he'd played baseball and he knew he was a sports fan. And he knew he would bring that desire, that competitiveness to his performance. So yeah,
and he definitely does. His performance it's probably one of his best on-screen performances ever.
Oh yeah, I will not disagree with that at all. So, all right, well, very good. So, O'Connor does a great job in spreading the story around. We spend enough time with Herb and the players and even the country. So as Michael mentioned, the relationship with Herb and his wife is very important because we get to see what he is like off the ice, what he's like when he's not coaching, the impact it's having on him and his family. We see the players spending time together. They're bonding, they're talking, they're sore, they're complaining. We get to know them and like those guys. The opening credits, with all the audio and the clips of what's going on at the time, the scene with Doc and Patrick, the assistant coach, while they're waiting in line for gas, the news on the TV about the hostages in Iran, all these parts need to work together. Otherwise, the end isn't as impactful. I mean, going in, if you're over a certain age, you know how it ends. We know what's going on. We know where it's going. But in a film situation, we have to get to know everybody that's impacted. And he did a really good job in making sure we spend enough time with everybody. And of course, bending the rules a little bit and sending the coach to the Christmas party that he wasn't at in real life. But it's necessary for us to like that character a lot more. So he did a very good job in making sure all the pieces fit. So that way, when we got to the end, we felt every emotion we were supposed to feel. So absolutely, O'Connor did a great job with that. All right. Michael, anything else you want to add? Anything else you love about this movie? I know John has some more, so we'll get around to him too, but we'll let you go first.
Yeah, I gotta shout out Noah Emmerich as
Yes.
Craig Patrick. He is, I love him as an actor. Like, one of my favorite films also is The Truman Show, which he's in that as well.
And we will have you back for that episode.
Yes, looking forward to that as well. But he does a great job as Craig Patrick. He plays the good cop in essence to Herb Brooks's bad cop.
Right.
And just the way that he's just so sincere, so kind. He cares about the players because that's kind of what his role is. Herb is kind of the authoritative dictator kind of guy that, he has to get everybody to hate him. Otherwise, the Boston crew and the Minnesota crew are going to be at odds,
right,
continually. And so Brooks knows that he has to do that. And so Patrick kind of is the stately, go-between with Brooks and the team. And you just see, Emmerich's performance is just so great. I really love, and you kind of brought it up already, the scene in the car with Doc when they're sitting there in the gas line and they're just talking, and Patrick goes, did Brooks act like this way before? And Doc's like, no, he's never acted like this way. And so it's like, why is he doing it? It's like, they're going to get everybody to hate him. And Doc's like, maybe he wants that. And you see Emmerich's face where he has that beat where it's like he's thinking, and it's like, well, and then he has the look of like he gets it and he understands exactly why Brooks is doing what he's doing. And that kind of nonverbal acting is so good from him.
Yeah.
And just like I said, great performance by him. Really enjoyed it, and he really brings that kind of kindness to the film, and you kind of need that to balance out Brooks a lot of the times.
No, I agree. Yeah, he also has that look when after the Sweden match where he sends them back and forth, and when they
Makes him run
finally
the
end.
Herbies.
Yeah, the Herbies, yeah. When he finally it's all gentlemen, and he walks off, and he has that look again, like that realization that, oh, he knew what he was doing, and it was really good. But yeah, he's great. I really love him in it's another one of my favorite movies from the 90s, Beautiful Girls. He's really good in that too. He's the nice guy in that one too, the really good buddy in that one. So yeah, he's great. He's a great actor. So awesome. All right, John, something else?
Again, it's kind of piggybacking on what I said earlier, but you guys have mentioned some of your favorite scenes, and one of my favorite scenes is when the team is in the bar and they're taking the incredibly long test that
Right.
Herb has made for them. And Jim Craig is looking at this. He's like, why are we doing this? And he actually has the guts to go up and confront Herb about it.
Right.
And what I liked about that is in that, we've mentioned, or you guys have mentioned that, Herb is a bit of a disciplinarian. He's trying to change the style of play of this team. You mentioned, we mentioned running the Herbies and stuff like that. He was very much a student of the game, and he watched the Soviets, and the Soviets were the most dominant team on the ice for decades. I mean, they were the most well-conditioned team, and he even tells the U.S. team, you guys are going to be better conditioned than the Soviets. He limited all their shifts to approximately 40 seconds on the ice, so there was always fresh legs on the ice. And if you don't really understand hockey, you don't really understand just how much of a physical exertion it is to go for 30 or 40 seconds, just, at the top of your capacity. You're
Right.
wiped out. It's like constantly running sprints. But anyway, Craig confronts him. He's like, why do I need to do? And Herb doesn't really have an answer for him, other than I want you to do it. And they get a little bit farther into the conversation, and Herb kind of lets his guard down, and he looks at Craig. He's like, how are you doing? Knowing Craig just lost his mom
Right.
recently. How's your family doing? It's not just about Craig. How's your family doing? And Craig breaks down and tells him, hey, my dad's having a tough time with this. Seems like his dad is pushing him to go pro. The franchise is offering him money, but this was his mom's dream for him to play the Olympic hockey team. And Herb respects that.
Right.
And he respects that Craig had enough guts to come up to him and is like, I don't need to do this. The fact that I'm here and doing this based on all the garbage that's going on in my life should tell you how committed I am.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like that unwritten code then, he's like, well, what is this? So I need to take your test. He's like, you just did. And he throws the test away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you don't see that in a lot of these sports movies. The coach is such a disciplinarian. Everybody has to bend and bow to him and do things his way. And Herb wants that as well too, but he also realizes he's got to go about it a different way with the different players.
Right.
You don't always see that. And I just thought, that's one of the best scenes in the movie, in my opinion.
It's a great callback too, because later he says, when he's going to bench him, because they scored him, he goes, is this because I didn't take your test? He goes, no, I want the guy in the net that didn't take the test. So yeah, it's a great callback. Well done. Well, just now, and it becomes that question. A lot of the dialogue, from what I've read, was pretty on point as far as what actually happened. But Hollywood and take some licenses. You got to ask yourself. You wonder if that interaction actually happened, because we know, at least from what I read and some interviews I saw, that the fight between the two guys at the beginning didn't actually happen, but there was definitely plenty of people being at odds on the ice, at the very beginning anyway. So they Hollywooded it up, and that's
he stacked the team with a lot of his Minnesota players,
right?
And then he put their rivals on the ice with them too,
right? Oh yeah.
And if you've played competitive sports and have been lucky enough to be on an all-star team, which I never was, but I mean, if you were, or you played in one year, you're playing against someone, and the next year they're on your team, it's kind of hard to make that adjustment.
Well, he, in the movie does a good job, having them get over it and end up working as a team. So Awesome. Very good. So recently we did an episode comparing a couple of racing movies, Grand Prix and Le Mans. One of my complaints from those was that we saw so much of the races that it felt like the directors were kind of afraid to edit things out. They're like, we spent all this money on these cameras, you're going to see most of the race. Well, this movie does a great job showing us, each game, or at least mentioning or showing at least a little bit of it without sacrificing story and emotion. You know, Obviously the USSR game takes up most of the time. In fact, that starts with still like 30 minutes left in the movie, but that's not the whole thing. We still have like the credits and whatever, but it moves so fast. The editing and way all of the hockey games were shot is just so much fun. I mean, it's almost like being there, without, all the really nasty, fans. But it's good. It's just really well put, and they did a really good job making it very exciting. Even though, like I said, we know what happens, but you still are on the edge of your seat watching them and seeing what's going on. And yeah, great. I just love the pace in which they put those scenes together. So good job, them. Let's go ahead and move on.
No, sir, I didn't like it.
It's time for No Sir, I Didn't Like It. These are things we don't like or don't work in the movie. And I gotta be honest, it took me some real thinking to get down to something that didn't work for me. Usually I'm the one that always can find at least one or two things that don't work, but it hit me, and I'll get there. So we'll start off again with Michael. Is there something in here that just doesn't work for you?
I really had a hard time thinking about this because, like I said, this is one of my favorite films of all time, and there's so many good things about it. Probably if there was like one thing that I wished was in the film, I guess would be a better way of putting it.
Okay.
What would be, I wish they had at least had maybe some kind of opening ceremonies thing. And what really got me to think about that was I recently, a couple months ago, went and saw the film The Boys in the Boat. Which, if you don't know that film, it is about the 1936 Washington Huskies rowing team that made the Olympics and beat the Germans to win the gold medal. And in that film, they had the opening ceremonies there in Berlin, and so they showed a little bit of it. They didn't, spend a whole lot of time on it, but they showed a little bit of it. Had a little interaction with Jesse Owens as well, because he was in that Olympics as well. And so thinking about that, and then thinking about Miracle, it would have been nice to have had that, just because you have these bunch of college kids that 18, 19, 20-year olds, to have them be, at this Olympics that's in Lake Placid, New York, to have that fanfare and everything. It would have been cool to see that, but I get why Gavin O'Connor didn't put it in there, because it, even in 2004, it would have been very difficult to have shot that and really make it feel like that it was the Olympics. So I get why they didn't have it in there, but it would have been nice if they had it in there.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, that's a good call. All right, John.
I'm so glad Mike went first, because it gave me an out, because I couldn't come up with much that I don't like about this film. But
well, I'm glad I could help you there.
listening to you talk, I think what would have been really interesting, kind of along the same lines of what you were saying, is I would have liked to have seen Herb when he was playing for the Olympic team just before he got cut.
Interesting.
Because he made several national teams, and then I forget, he was cut just before.
Yeah, they mentioned that in the movie, like literally like a week prior. Yeah.
Right. So I would have liked to seen maybe, just him getting the scene of him walking out of the coach's office, and then him sitting on the couch with his dad watching the game. So you get a little bit of that drive behind him. It's alluded to a little bit, when he's going through his memorabilia and he pulls out the team picture and you see his name on it. But if you don't know the story behind it, it doesn't really doesn't really resonate as much, I think.
Yeah.
But he was such a driven individual. I would have liked to have seen a little bit of that. I mean, the movie loses nothing by it not being in there, but
Right.
it might have gained just a little something.
That would have been an interesting way to show us instead of tell us, because they do talk about it in the locker room.
Yeah.
After that one guy that they added him like last minute, and
Yeah.
so there's
Well,
he'll do because he said he'll do anything, at this
yeah.
point. So, but yeah, that would have been
Yeah.
interesting. No, I like
That,
that.
or if they had that just prior to him making the last cut on the team, when he had to let the last guy go,
Yeah, like a flashback or something.
yeah, because
Okay.
he did a really good job of portraying just how heartbroken he was of having to let this guy go, because he knew exactly what that felt like.
All right. Yeah, I like that. All right, cool. Okay. So mine is let's go out this way. The entire movie is about beating the Russian team. Okay. That's the whole thing. He adopts, you know, uh, part of the Russian game, and he, combines it with, of course, with the Canadian, whatever. But it's all about the whole buildup for this entire movie is playing and beating the Russians. So when we get to the end of the movie, I kind of feel like they missed their opportunity on how it actually ends. Okay. So we get the clock runs out, and you hear that great line from Al Michaels, do you believe in miracles? And the crowd goes nuts, right? So you have the players are celebrating on the ice. The crowd is coming down, and they're going on the ice. And of course, you have that guy put the flag on Jim Craig, and Herb looks up at his wife and then disappears down the hallway to deal with all the emotions he's been hiding from everybody this whole time, right? Get rid of the voiceover. It's not needed. We don't need a narration at this point. We haven't had it the whole movie. Okay. It kind of distracts from the moment we just had. We don't need the medal ceremony because we know what happens. Now, remove that, get rid of the medal ceremony, just a celebration. It fades to a title card saying the team won the gold medal, and then you fade to the dedication to Herb. That's it. The whole thing was about them beating the Russians. That was the goal. That's the story. It should have ended with that. We don't need, they went on to win the gold. Yeah, we know that. Just title card. Boom, we're done. That's my only complaint. That's it. It's not much, but I think that would have been a more appropriate ending, I guess is a better way to put it, because it was about beating the Russians. And John's making a face.
I don't know that I don't know that you're wrong, but I don't know that I necessarily agree with you, because there's a common misconception with a lot of the people that weren't alive when this happened, that was for the game against the Russians was for the gold medal.
And I understand that. That's why you have the title card that went on to say they beat them, and then got the gold medal. The whole thing was about beating the Russians. That to me feels like a better ending. But unfortunately, they didn't ask my opinion back in 2003. So, we get what we get and we don't get upset. But that's it. That was literally the only thing I could think that really, was a missed opportunity. So I do find it funny that all three of us kind of, things that should have been there, we would like to have seen, and maybe, but
I think the only other thing I would have liked to have seen in this is, if I remember correctly, the Russians have no speaking lines at all. I don't remember.
They don't.
They don't. And I thought that was really interesting. But the Bo Bridges looking coach, he's like the evil Bo Bridges,
Man, those eyelashes or those eyebrows, man. Jeez.
I would have liked to have seen, like, even if it never happened in real life, and I can remember seeing the game, and I won't say live because no one that was alive that saw that game, unless you were there, saw it live because it was tape delayed. We didn't have instantaneous sports like we do now. But I would have liked it, other than the nod, and the nod was cool between the coaches because it showed the respect. But I don't know. Maybe to allude to something you said, Herb goes back, and maybe there's a fictitious meeting between the two coaches where even if they don't say anything, they like shake hands or something like that.
Right. Yeah, I did actually watch the actual last minute of the game on I found on YouTube through ESPN Classic, and no joke, man, as soon as that's over, Herb is down that hallway. He's just gone, and I'm like, okay. So I love that anyway. Mike, was there anything else you wanted to mention that didn't work, or was that it?
Well, there was one more thing, and I guess it's kind of opposing a little bit what you said, Dayton, as far as like the ending of the film.
That's all right. I'm used to people opposing me. It's all right.
Somebody on my side, yes.
Yeah, I would have loved to have had a little bit more of the gold medal game with Finland. There was like just a brief, like I think they showed one goal and that was it. And I would have loved to have maybe like another minute of action there, because a lot of the other like qualifying games, they had like a little bit more of a sizzle reel to the games.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have loved to have had a little bit more of that in there, just to kind of tie it off, because again, the misconception is that the Russian game was the gold medal game, and it wasn't. True. It was a semifinals, and so it'd have been nice to have that. And I feel like that the ending as a whole works because they get to that gold medal ceremony, and Eruzione, which does happen in real life, right, where he gets all the teammates up there with their gold medals together on the platform. And I feel like that you have to end the film there. Even if you wanted to do a transition where you show like the actual footage of the gold medal ceremony and do it that way, I think that would have been cool too.
Yeah, I like that.
You have to end it on that, because that's really one of the most iconic scenes from those Olympics, is that ceremony where they're all together and they're all celebrating, wearing their gold medals, and hearing the Star Spangled Banner play. It's just it's iconic, and so you kind of have to have that as far as the ending goes. But
yeah,
I would have loved to have a little more of that Finland game.
I think maybe use actual footage from the Finland game with the voiceover. Then you can cut to the the medal ceremony, and maybe bring the actors back in. And then as you're fading out for the credits, transition over to the actual footage of the 80s Olympic team standing on the podium.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of scenes in this movie, like even like when they score the goal against Russia and they all pile on one another. If you watch that and compare it to actual game footage, it is scarily easily close. It's almost like they block those guys out and like, no, you go here and you go here and your arm goes up this high and your other arm goes around this dude. I don't know, but anyway.
That's all right. I'm used to people arguing with me. That's fine. It's kind of, how this podcast works. All right. So we're going to take a quick promo break, and when we get back, we're going to hit some favorites and give this movie a rating.
Okay, Jason, test of our friendship. Which is better, Van Halen or Van Hagar?
Man, honestly, I think Van Hagar has better music.
Oh, no. It's Van Halen. You're wrong.
What about Michael Jackson's Bad album versus Michael Jackson's Thriller album?
Thriller, obviously. Bestseller, ever.
No. See, people trick themselves into believing that it's actually bad.
Okay, Trading Places versus Coming to America.
Trading Places is the funnier movie out of this deal.
No, Coming to America is the funniest movie of all time. So if you find yourself backing one of us or the other of us, you need to be listening to the Surely You Can't Be Serious podcast.
That's right. We have a friendly discussion. Dee and I are best buddies, and we take a deep dive and look at the behind-the-scenes stuff, the history and the fun facts of all these wonderful movies and music from our youth.
It's really just an opportunity for us to geek out about the things that we really loved growing up.
For example, do you know the actor that was in Star Wars, Batman 89, and Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Yeah, sure, it's Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford wasn't in Batman.
Oh, yeah, Billy D. Williams.
Billy D. Williams was not in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Who was it?
Well, you've got to tune in to the Surely You Can't Be Serious podcast when we discuss Raiders of the Lost Ark versus Back to the Future to find out the answer.
Hey, check it out. There's a brand new podcast on the way exploring the discographies of the Beatles and the Beach Boys.
It's called Apples and Oranges, and it launches on February 7th.
We will be matching albums against each other in a 1v1 format, discussing every single track and then giving our verdict on which album is better.
Pet Sounds versus Revolver. Sgt. Pepper versus Smile.
Wouldn't it be nice if most people knew how well the Beach Boys actually held up against the Fab Four?
Both bands inspired each other to keep pushing the boundaries of what was possible in pop music, here, there, and everywhere.
And what we got were some of the greatest albums of all time.
All Summer Long versus A Hard Day's Night. Rubber Soul versus the Beach Boys Today.
So let's come together for some fun, and help me, Rhonda, get this podcast off the ground. And we'll sure appreciate you being around on February 7th, wherever you find your podcast.
That's Apples and Oranges, February 7th.
right, it's time for Smiling's My Favorite. These are some of our favorite things about the movie and the Olympics. So, first, favorite scene in the movie. Michael, you get to go first.
Well, I have to mention this scene because, like I mentioned earlier about the sports trope movie draft from Cinematic Underdogs, I drafted the locker room speech that Herb gives before the Russian game as my best locker room speech. So I have to mention it as my favorite scene from the film because it's such an iconic speech. The scene just plays so brilliantly from everything that led up to it to Kurt Russell's performance. It stirs you with all the emotions. It gets you fired up. It gets you, wanting, to go out there on the ice yourself. It just really is just an iconic scene, an iconic speech, and yeah, to me that's my favorite one out of so many, but that one is number one.
All right, very good. John?
I mean, I kind of alluded to earlier. I really like the scene with Herb and Craig.
Okay.
That and my other one is he's got them running when he's getting the team together. He's got them running Herbies for the first time.
Okay.
And, who do you play for? And they're all listening. They're all listing their their college. They're not, and finally one guy, he's just exhausted. He's like, I play for the United States of America. I was like, that's enough.
Yeah.
That's all he wanted to do for them to do was to drop that. The name on the front of the jersey is a hell of a lot more important than the name on the back of the jersey. And those guys never get it until that moment.
Yeah. Well, John, you stole mine, the Herbie scene. So
sorry. Yeah, and it's a legit story. It's a true story. It's not embellished for the film.
The only thing that was changed was it was not because Ruzioni says I play for USA. One of the other actors or one of the other players finally got fed up, but threw his stick down and left.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yes, I read that was that's how that actually ended. Was they finally gave up and said we're leaving, but it's way more impactful in the movie.
That took some guts.
Yeah. But yeah, it was still great. No, it's great. I love that line. He goes, well, leave me the key. I'll tell him I'll lock up. Yes. So it was great. No, great scene. It's just the way it's put together, the build up to it, those, and they did it over 3 days, if I'm right. And they shot like all day. And so they really wore those guys out because they wanted them to look like they were destroyed. So I love that. Herbies. I love that. Okay, cool. Moving on. Favorite Olympic event, Michael.
Oh gosh, I have to give a tie because there's two that are like my favorite ones as far as like Winter Olympics are concerned. One of them is ski jumping.
Nice.
And that just speaks for itself to see an athlete at the top of the hill with their skis on, just let go and slide all the way down the hill and jump off and get the heights that they get is, as a little kid watching that for the first time, I think really my memories kind of kick in around the 88 Olympics. So Calgary.
Right.
And seeing that for the first time was just bonkers cool. And it's like one of the things that I've just enjoyed in every Olympic since then. And then the other, speed skating.
Okay.
I'm a huge racing guy. I love all kinds of racing, whether it's stock car, open wheel, track and field, and ice skating with speed skating. So I love the speed, and the speed skating is one of my favorites as well. Growing up watching Bonnie Blair and Dan Jansen, and some of those, that was always just fun watching them speed out, and then even just the short track stuff with Apollo Anton Ono. And all the derby kind of crashes that happen on those short tracks. It's just those are just intense and fun and enjoyable. So those would be my tie. Would be ski jumping and speed skating.
All right, very good, cool. John,
aside from ice hockey,
which
is I like all the stuff in the Winter Olympics that can kill you. like the bobsled, the luge, the ski jump.
Those are my two favorites. I love those,
all
man.
that stuff, and curling. I love curling because
really,
I am just
you
old enough
and Disney
out of
John
shape enough that I think I can do curling.
So, Disney John loves curling. A friend of ours, Scott Cox, who is a big board gamer like we are, he actually made a curling board game.
Okay, that's a step too far in my opinion. But
you know what? Hey, he made it and I played it and I'm like, okay, this is curling.
I'm just wondering how you could actually do a curling board game.
That's what I'm wondering.
It was real small and it has lines and it's just about, it's boring just like curling. That's all there is to it.
Curling's not boring. They just need a bad boy. They need
that's
a bad boy. Like a Bill Murray Kingpin style guy that's a curler.
Oh, jeez.
Or John Daly of curling.
Man, you're digging a hole there. Digging a hole. They use brooms. Never mind. All right, so yes, bobsled is my number one, followed closely by the luge, because I agree anything where they can possibly get really hurt, which I know is just a kind of a gargoyle kind of a thing, I don't care. But honestly, I would love to ride in a bobsled. I would just love it. Just, man, that would just be so much fun. And I'd probably wreck and break my legs. That's okay. Whatever. Moving on. Okay. Favorite hockey team, if you have one. This was a bit hard for me. I don't watch as much hockey as I like to, but we'll get there. Michael, do you have a favorite hockey team?
I do. Being from Tennessee, I have to be a Nashville Predators fan. That's my team. I was super excited when they came into the league in '98, and I saw that was my first hockey game that I went to was that opening season with the Predators.
Oh, wow.
And
cool.
And I'm super excited whenever I get to watch them play. Was happy when they had that one Stanley Cup run. They fell just a little bit short to the Penguins, but that's my ride or die team. And interesting enough, the connection of the Nashville Predators with this film Miracle is that Ryan Suter, who is the son of Bob Suter, who was on the Miracle on Ice team, was drafted by the Predators in 2003. So he was a part of the team for his first couple years before he left in free agency. So there's that connection that Nashville has with this film.
Cool.
Very
well
cool.
played. All right, John.
I've got a bunch of teams, and I'll throw this out, but I'll settle on one. But I will throw this out for Mikey. Nashville. Mike, I have a Thomas Vokoun jersey hanging in my closet right now. I got a soft spot in my heart for the Predators because my favorite team was originally slotted for relocation to Nashville before they turned around and won the Stanley Cup, and that is the New Jersey Devils.
I remember all of that went down. Yeah, I remember that New Jersey almost came here and didn't, but then thankfully we got the Predators, and so it all worked out anyway.
Very cool. I should have guessed it was the New Jersey Devils. I don't know why it didn't even occur to me. So back in the 90s, when I used to sit down on my Sega Genesis and play NHL 95 or 96, whatever, I always played as the Detroit Red Wings just because, not really sure why. John's shaking his head. I don't care. But being from California, San Jose Sharks are the ones that actually follow, and they're having a really bad year this year. They're terrible. But
the Devils aren't doing much better, my friend.
Well, yeah, but barely won 20 games. That's terrible. So, but locally, as John mentioned, we have a minor league team here, the Cincinnati Cyclones. And so they were my home team, so to speak. I remember going to see the Stingers when I was really little back, long time ago. But yeah, the Cyclones are cool. In fact, John and I will be partaking in a game soon. So cool. I'm curious about this one. Favorite Kurt Russell film. All right. Michael, what's your favorite Kurt Russell film?
Well, it's a tie between this one, Miracle, and Tombstone. Those two are always, in regular rotation. I've done rescreen episodes of both Tombstone and Miracle on my podcast. because I love those films. And so for me, it's a toss up between those two, depending on what day of the week it is that you ask me. I'll say one or the other. So
Gotcha.
I'll just say it's both of them.
All right. I will leave Tombstone alone. All right, John.
I think it depends on which Kurt Russell I want, kind of like Mikey, but
all right, I gotcha.
This is definitely one of them. And the other one is Big Trouble in Little China.
Yes, it is. Yes. Well, it's like if you really want the total, tough guy, you go with, Escape from New York.
Right.
Or The Thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, I forgot about The Thing.
Oh, how did you forget about The Thing?
My brain's mushed lately. There's
all right,
a lot.
That's fine. I'll give you a break. You've been preparing for a con. I'll give you a break. But no, mine's Big Trouble with very close. The Thing is the second. But yeah, Big Trouble, I never get bored of that one. And he's so much fun in that. And he plays the action hero. He thinks he's an action hero when he's really the comedic foil. So I love that.
Exactly.
and he does it very, very well. So, all right. Very good. Let's slap a rating on this thing. Out of 1 to 5 film reels, Michael, what's your rating for this?
Oh, I have to give it 5 out of 5, hands down, no question. I mean, I've already mentioned it's one of my favorite sports films of all time. I've gushed about it so many times in so many different places, so I have to give it 5 out of 5.
All right, very good, John.
I can't give anything a perfect score. It's just not in me to do so. But this is pretty doggone close as far as sports films go. So I'm going to give it a very solid 4.95.
You and Eric and the points, 0.9. Anyway, okay. So I'm going to say 4.5 out of 5 because it's almost perfect. But yes, I have a hard time giving perfect scores to movies. There's a few exceptions, and LA Confidential is one of those. But anyway, moving on. But yes, it's really good. It's a really good sports film, and it's a good film. There's drama in it. There's comedy. It's not just about the sport. It's about the people that are playing the sport that are in the movie. And as I said before, it's cut together very well. It moves very well, and it's exciting to watch. And it has all the emotions. So yes, 4.5 out of 5 from me.
Yeah, if I can throw this out there, if you don't mind, there is a wonderful documentary on Disney Plus right now, and I found it when I was watching this the other day. I believe it's called The Boys of Winter.
Okay,
and it is about this, but it is told from the Russian side of things.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
And it's really interesting. Like the goalie, Tetrikov, I can't remember. I'm
kind of
horrible.
off.
Yeah, I'm horrible at the names pronunciation. He has a tremendous amount of respect for this team. The forward, and again, I can't remember his name. I had these all memorized until a couple of days ago, and I lost it. Again, he goes to Lake Placid with his daughter to tour the facility, and they go to the locker room, and the guys are like, "Yeah, this was your locker room," and she sits down, and he's like, "Why did you choose to sit there?" And she's like, "I don't know." He's like, "She's sitting exactly where my locker was."
That's just
it's really cool. And then there's one guy on there. He's like, they ask him, like, "Have you watched Miracle?" And I think he's the only guy that does the full interview in Russian. I don't think he speaks English at all. He's like, "No, why would I? That was a horrible day in my life. Let the Americans watch that and celebrate. I'll watch something else I can celebrate." But it's really, really cool to get that different perspective on things. So it's a nice little companion piece to this.
Awesome. I will have to check that out. Very good. Okay, cool. Well, gentlemen, a fantastic discussion about a very good movie. So thank you for being here. Now, before we leave, Michael, why don't you tell people where they can find your podcast?
Yeah, Dayton, thanks for having me on, John.
Of course.
Really appreciate being on with y'all. You can find the Screen Nerds podcast anywhere you get your podcasts, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, Castbox, Amazon Music. Just search Screen Nerds podcast and hit the subscribe button. I always say leave a review, hopefully a 5-star, but at least a written review, and share it around. And then as far as the socials go, you can find me on Twitter at Screen Nerds Pod, and then Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky by searching Screen Nerds Podcast.
Fantastic. And thank you for being here, Michael. We appreciate it. And we'll look forward to having you again. Like I said, the Truman Show episode is right around the corner. Scary enough. All right, John, where can people find your art?
Coming up this month, I will be at Cincinnati PopCon at the Cincinnati Convention Center. It's going to be the last convention held there before they shut it down to remodel. So, that's on April 27th. So it's going to be a smaller show for that venue from the looks of it, but it should be kind of cool. It's going to be more collector focused and stuff like that. So
that's cool.
Come out, hang out, tell me why I shouldn't root for the Devils when I live in Cincinnati, But
I love it. Very good. Cool. All right. So I want to take a moment to thank the listeners for stopping by and listening to what we have to say. Let us know your feelings on this movie and reach out on social media. All of our social media information is in the show notes. We also have a Discord. Join that and chat with us 24/7 about whatever you're reading, watching, listening to, or even video games you're playing. We'd love to chat with people. We also, if you're so inclined, we do have a Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you have access to all of our exclusive content, early access to episodes, and some behind-the-scenes videos of episodes as well. If you aren't able to do that, please rate and review the podcast. When we see the review, we will share it on the air. Share us with your family, friends, and coworkers because more people, more better. Some upcoming episodes I want to mention. Here's what we got on tap for the rest of April. We have the 1996 film Tin Cup, starring Kevin Costner, Don Johnson, and Rene Russo. The 2016 movie Everybody Wants Some from director Richard Linklater. And then, kicking off May, it's going to be a big one. We have the top 7 movies of the 1980s with Deaf Dave from the podcast Apples and Oranges and Jason Colvin from the Shirley Campy Series podcast. They'll be joining myself and Robert Burnett, and I've established rules for this particular episode, so that's going to be fun. Do yourself a favor and watch more movies. And remember, physical media is better than streaming. The Docking Bay 77 podcast is produced and edited by Dayton Johnson. Recorded with Rode Pod mics, the Zoom PodTrack P4, and edited on Audacity. Opening music provided by Eric Jason Brock. You can find him on YouTube and Bandcamp. Thank you for listening.